Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Spawncast episode 374. We are officially back after actually a couple weeks now. We were at Too Many Games, and then last weekend we premiered the panel, which was a lot of fun, and now we're back. So this is actually our first podcast in July. It's been a minute. But excited to be back. And of course, we had OJ who was holding up the pre-show the whole time we were gone.
Yeah,
we got OJ here with us. How we doing there, sir?
I'm doing good. It's good to be back. You know, Spawncast back finally. A lot of people were saying, when's the Spawncast coming back? When's it coming back? I'm like, they'll be back after Too Many Games. Don't worry.
Hey, we're coming back.
We're coming back. Yeah, back. Good to see you guys, man. Good to see all you guys here. Thanks for inviting me once again.
We also have Ryan with us tonight.
Hello. Good to be back. Good to have OJ holding down the fort.
Yeah, it's good to see you, man. Seriously, Mystic. It's good to see all you guys here.
We missed you out there, though. Would have been good.
Yeah, listen, I'll tell you guys, for those that want to know that didn't come to, listen, let me just tell you real quick. So I had to be somewhere Friday morning, right? And I had to be there. I couldn't get out of it. So if I wanted to get to Too Many Games, I would have had to there's no direct flight out of the Central Valley. So I would have had to go to Los Angeles in 100-degree weather, right? With traffic on a Friday or a Saturday. There was no way in hell I'm going to do that. Like, rush to Los Angeles and fly out of LAX. Hell no, man. I couldn't do it. It would just be too much of a pain. Now, maybe next time I'll be there because I won't have to be somewhere Friday morning and I can get out there, get to LAX, or if there's a direct flight out of my area. But LAX, for those who don't know, traffic is nuts. Friday and Saturday, you are just signing up for hell if you do that, especially during traffic. Yeah, the traffic is nuts. It would have taken me 2.5 hours to probably drive there just to get to LAX, and then you got to deal with LAX, so you have to go there way earlier, right? So it would have just been a nightmare of me trying to get there.
And of course, we have Evan, who is the new champion. I'm trying to remember what game it was.
Yeah, say the game name. Say the game.
I'm trying to remember what game it was. I'm just gonna default to Warhammer or something.
Yeah, it was Underworlds, because if you don't show up,
Evan, this is part of the Too Many Games lore now. The story.
I got the shirt.
You got the shirt too. They gave you the shirt.
It says winner on it. Feels good.
So we of course attended Too Many Games a couple weeks ago. It was in Oaks, PA, and that's where the panel came from, and we had a good time there. But Evan had had a couple of tournaments he was going to. The first one, you were at this tournament from 11 to 9, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m.
About a 9-hour one.
It was crazy. Yeah, you were there the whole time.
It's a short tournament.
Short one. Okay,
the whole day.
You were there the whole time.
You guys were outside for most of the day, just staring at people.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But we were there. You were there the whole day, and you tried. You didn't get the trophy. You didn't get the win that day, but you came back the next day. And you're ready. You won by default because you persevered, and you waited, and no one else showed up.
he signed up.
Hey, and you know what happened? We went by. And we said, you're getting that trophy, right? They had the trophy on the table. We were like, you take that trophy with you. And this dude comes out in the parking lot holding the trophy for winning Underworlds. He's on his shelf. And then he was like, you know what? I get to get a t-shirt if I go up to the front. And he went up and got that t-shirt as well. So I will give Evan credit. He sat there for like an hour and a half or so, wasn't it? Something like that.
I walked away because he signed me up. So I got some food.
And you came away a champion. That was it.
Did the Rocky music start playing?
No.
Shut up.
Hey, Josie made you take a picture with your trophy and everything. So she has the picture for it and everything. So proof that Evan actually won the tournament there. But it was Too Many Games was a lot of fun though. We did the panel, we did the meet and greet, and a lot of the people who are watching in the chat now, I noticed they would come in, they would say they watched us every weekend, and there are many people from the Patreon that were there as well, which I do want to give some people a shout out from there. John O was there in attendance, came by actually a couple of days, 2 of the days, came by and said hi. It's always good to see John O. We also have on the Patreon Joshua Butts, Mr. Joby, Justin Maverick was there. I believe he had the PS1, PlayStation 1, I think, that we signed, which was really cool. The Game Orb, Trent A, we have Drunk on Tacos A, and then A Billion Cats, who I think is Sean's favorite member over on the Spawncast Patreon. You can support all the shows. Head on over to spawncastnetwork.com or just patreon.com/Spawncast. Check that out. But definitely a big shout out to all the people who came through to say hi. It was to the point where we had to go outside in the parking lot. Okay. I feel like I should apologize to the people who had to do that too, because we were already there for all 3 days. So if we were out there for a couple of hours, it wasn't a big deal for us. But there were people who were there for like the afternoon on Saturday or something, and it was like 95 degrees outside. So once you were done out there, it was just, you're just going inside and you're just sweating up a storm. It was bad, but I already talked to them and they said next year they'll give us more time, because I'd rather have too much time in the nice air conditioned room than not enough time and get ushered out to the parking lot.
It's basically what we had last year and we didn't use it. Then it got into an hour and then it went way over. Yep. Hard to predict that, I would assume. Yeah.
Too many people came out this year. I maybe it was because Sean was there. I don't know. I mean, it's the first time Sean's been there in a long time. So he had the people come out. But it was fun. Got some good pickups. I already showed my stuff off in a video that seemed to shock Ryan. But Ryan got some good stuff too. He's going to do a pickups video.
That'll probably be this Tuesday, I think.
Oh, good. All right, cool. Yeah, I was curious what you got then, like that you show off there, because I mean, I know some of the stuff you got, but I feel like I missed a few things though, because you were rolling in with like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I'm like, I don't know when you bought those. You just came in with stack. You were bringing stacks of them in, like it was like bricks of stuff. And I'm like, what is that?
You were there. You know that last booth where that was where I got the Final Fantasy 16 like art book, and then the 2 other booster boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that one? So I ripped both of those. One of the boxes had a Starlight Rare in it, which the pull ratio on that is 1 out of 2 cases. So like 1 out of 24 boxes. That was pretty hype.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were looking for Yu-Gi-Oh everywhere, man.
Yeah.
That was way. You found them though. Eventually, you did. You walked away with a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
You look hard enough, they're there.
Apparently, I can't believe. I thought Yu-Gi-Oh was bigger than that. Like I thought everyone would have them, but it was like you had to like search.
It's big, but it's just not. It's not a very advantageous like thing to sell from a store point of view. Like the money's in Magic and Pokemon.
Yeah, Magic, Pokemon, those seem to be the 2 big ones that we'd come across every single time there. But yeah, it was still fun going around on the marketplace floor and finding a bunch of cool stuff. The shadow boxes look pretty good up on the wall and everything. So I was happy with what I picked up. It was a good time. We just gotta get you out there next year, OJ.
Yeah, I hope so, man. I think next year will probably be better. This year, like I said, I had somewhere I had to be Friday morning, so I couldn't really.
Sean said he's coming out next year again. He said he's going to be there next year.
So yeah, I wish it was closer, man. Damn, like
that's the only problem.
Flight from California all the way over there, bro. It's like a 5-hour flight.
Hey,
I mean, you could always move over here.
If Josie made it,
why the hell would I do that? Why the hell would I do that? Go over there?
I've heard you complain about where you live.
Oh no, man, I'm good, brother. I'm trying to y'all Eskimos out there, right?
Yeah, we got it.
Not right now. We're not. Jesus.
Nah, right now it's really hot. We have some wild temperature swings up here.
Y'all be doing that Eskimo shit in the wintertime though. Like I'm good on that. I'm good.
It does. It gets pretty cold out.
Us Nigerians, we're tropical people. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta have the weather a little bit better than that, man.
You know what I'm saying? We get some crazy temperature swings out here, and then when it's hot, it's like humid hot. It's
because I can just roll to Pismo. Pismo's like 2 hours away. And it's perfect in Pismo, man. It's perfect there. So, yeah.
Well, while we were gone, we did actually rack up a bunch of topics, but what I did was I grabbed some of them, especially some of the ones that happened this past week, which does include that Nintendo Emio trailer. Emio, we do have that to go over. Which a lot of questions around what Nintendo's doing there. The Game Pass tier stuff with shakeups there, as well as the price increase. Concord, we did have the beta that happened over the past couple days. We'll talk a bit about that. And I did throw in the Dead Rising remaster because I didn't realize we'd been gone for so long. That got unveiled, and then we got more information, and we still haven't had a chance to really talk about it much. So that and a few other things I had in here as well. So we'll start with Nintendo's weird trailer that they posted up. This was this on what day was that? It was Tuesday or Wednesday. Just want to make sure I have the exact day for that. They posted up a trailer that was 15 seconds long. It is a figure with a bag over their head. It is age gated, mature rated. And some of the themes and reasonings for it being mature rated are definitely like it's a serious mature. It's not like, oh, it might be kind of like teen and then it just makes it mature. Now it sounds like it's pretty serious stuff. But they posted this up. It went across all of their social media channels on Twitter X, on YouTube, pretty much everything. And then they have not referenced it since. It's 15 seconds of this. It seems like the Japanese writing translates to smiling man. And that's it. That's all. That's all we got for it. Now, this has people really digging into it, trying to figure things out. And you know what? It's got to be tough being Bloober Team nowadays. It really does. Because there was this connection that was made, and people thought, they speculated, that maybe this is Bloober Team's game. And it was disaster online after that, after people started thinking that, because people were like, oh my gosh, Bloober Team, they didn't do anything. They're like off to the side, and people are just like crushing them. So it's like, man, they did Layers of Fear, and that's like, I guess that's been their best game since, Evan. Layers of Fear, you like Layers of Fear.
Observer is pretty good too.
The medium, I did not like at all. I tried it.
I feel like anytime a major company tells them to do something, it always feels crappy. So I don't know. It's something weird.
Silent Hill 2, people are questioning that right now with the way that's looking with the gameplay, and it's. So when you hear Bloober Team come up here, they were like, oh, come on, really? It's Bloober Team. That's rough being Bloober Team right now. But good news, I guess, in that case, IGN sources seem to point to it not being a Bloober Team project. So whatever they're working on with Nintendo or for the Switch, it's something else. So now everyone's just trying to figure out what exactly is going on here. And is this a game coming out this year? Is it even a game? People are wondering if it's something else. I don't know. So what do you guys think when this dropped? Because everyone kind of had a different thought process as to what they were even looking at, and what Nintendo's strategy was here.
I think it's a game because it says Nintendo Switch. So I mean, I'm guessing, yeah. So it'd have to be a game, right?
What if it's like Abandoned, where it was like the PlayStation 5 app, like an app for it, and they showed you trailers in the app? That's still coming out someday, right?
I guess.
I think that's more of an exception. Oh. Not necessarily a rule.
Experience.
Yeah. Although that would constitute like an age rating and things like that, probably at the very minimum. So, but I don't think that's what it is.
It was pointed out that Nintendo they've published M-rated games, but they've never actually internally developed an M-rated game before. And I think it was on Kit and Krista. Kit pointed out that Nintendo card at the end could be pointing to this being a Nintendo thing. Like, this could actually be them developing something that is not only mature rated, but potentially a horror game, which is kind of mind-blowing for Nintendo in their history. Like, this would be the first one they've really done. And I'm not really sure what that exactly means for them behind the scenes. Like, how would they have come about to this decision to be like, yeah, let's do an M-rated horror game, if that is the case? And so at that point, do you guys think this is internally developed by Nintendo, or are they working with a third-party studio? Because it's still kind of up in the air.
They're working with a third-party studio. I would think.
You think so?
Yeah, I think they're working with a third-party studio, and the reason why is because if you look at all of their games over the last, like everything late, it's all with other third-party studios. It would be really weird to drop a first-party internal developed game at this point. Like, most of their games this year have been working with outside studios in order to get that done. So that would be really weird if they did. How I do know that Nintendo comes up with some of these ideas internally is that, I mean, they take pitches all the time, just like most studios, most publishers. They'll take a pitch. They allow the younger developers to, hey, if you have an idea, you can come to the table and, put together their ideas. So if this was something that they did do internally, just hypothetically speaking, if it was, it would definitely be because somebody young on the team likes horror games, and they came together with the pitch that, that the higher up said, okay, this seems cool, let's do it. So that would be the way that this actually got done. There'd be some young developer or somebody that likes, Eternal Darkness or whatever the case is, right? Or some of these other games, or Resident Evil or all this stuff, and was like, hey, let's do this. And I have an idea, and I think this game can be this, and here's would be the budget, right? So that's probably how, if it is Nintendo, this is how it got done.
Has a page over on their Japanese website already as well, which if you refresh it, it'll just load up a random video. Like there's two of them it picks from, one that's a bit more zoomed into the character and one that's kind of zoomed out. So even that, it seems a little strange for it being third party, although they could just contract a studio and not even really tell us who's making it like they do for a lot of the stuff. And then we find out in the credits. But I saw some people theorize it. Did you see that some people immediately thought this was Kojima?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the typical forums and stuff, and on Twitter, they're like, "Oh, is this Kojima?" Dude, Kojima would want to start tweeting about this immediately if it was him. So that's why I was like,
months ago,
he immediately wants to be like a Kojima Productions thing or something. He wants his name to be on it. So no, I don't think that's a Kojima thing at all.
Nah, probably not.
I do think what would be really funny is if this is their way to do something weird and bring back the vitality sensor. You got to hook it up and it'll like track your pulse when you're playing it.
Right. This is when they bring back the vitality sensor.
This is it. This is
when they choose to do it.
Yeah, I don't know.
They had that one in the chamber for a long time.
Yep. This is it right here. They're going to hook it up to you when you're playing this horror game, and they're going to see how you react, and it'll change the way the game's being played.
I will say, I really enjoy when anything like this happens, period. I'll humor it left and right when we get some kind of like random sort of completely like unknown teaser that tells us absolutely nothing, and we have to like start digging through like, patents or age ratings and things like that to try and deduce who's making it, where is it internal, is it external, and horror always has a certain certain air to it that it seems very exciting, and to see it from Nintendo I think is pretty fascinating. So I'm down for whatever the hell this is.
It is interesting because it's a different way for them to use social media for marketing, which I guess technically if the whole PRO thing was still going on with that YouTube like back end leak, that source, this would have been spoiled, obviously. If someone had been like, oh, here comes a horror game or something for Nintendo's gonna be uploaded. The fact that this was so random and out of left field kickstarts it already, but then there's just no information. And it kind of reminds me of, so now they kind of use the internet sleuths or detectives to basically go out and advertise the game for them. Kind of reminds me a bit of, you remember when Cloverfield, they were building that movie up? And the way they were doing it was dropping a lot of breadcrumbs online and letting people start to kind of figure it out and piece the puzzle together of what was going on with this like slusho company or whatever. They're like trying to work this out. And then eventually got to the point where, it's a monster movie.
Like an ARG.
Yeah. So
basically,
it was, that's the way so they just worked it out that way. I think that is a good way to market some of the stuff now, since you have social media. You got to kind of work that into your advantage, and I think stuff like this is fun. So I almost wonder if this game if it's coming out this year, because while they did drop the trailer now, what if this is like a slow burn and they just go for like a year with this thing, randomly dropping teasers or just doing other viral marketing, fourth wall breaking stuff?
I don't know if they'd go that long. I think they did this, probably they want like a shorter like time frame. So I mean, I guess, but that'd be too long. I don't want them to be teasing this is for a year, I don't know if it's that important.
2 years.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. I'm not trying to do all that. I mean,
it is on the Switch. So in that regard, OJ, you're probably right in that this would be something coming out soonish, because the next system's coming up here before the end of the fiscal year. We'll be talking about that.
Yeah, so I'm hoping it's this year or like early next year. Maybe they do that all the way up until maybe we get some gameplay in the next month or so. I don't think Nintendo has no games for August, right? Like they have that Nintendo World Championships is coming out. There's no games in August, so maybe it'd be pretty cool. You drop an actual like more or another trailer in August, and then September. That's like when games start coming out for them. So.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, that would actually make sense. Slot it into August ahead of all their other releases coming up. It's just interesting that it's there and it wasn't in their direct. Like they separated it.
Maybe it wasn't ready. Maybe they weren't ready to talk about it at that point. I'm not sure.
That's the thing that's really interesting to me is they've separated it and it's just kind of on its own. I mean, like that could have been something. You imagine that in the direct with no title and it just phases in and phases out for 15 seconds. That would have been crazy in the news cycle then if it was part of that direct.
Absolutely. Usually the directs, they usually talk about games. It kind of goes against like what directs are usually like, hey, it's coming out this time, this date. Like we know, like here's gameplay. That's usually what directs are. But yeah, that would be something I guess different, right? Than usual, than what they usually do. So I mean, that would definitely have gotten some people talking about it from more, for sure.
I like it. It seems so different for Nintendo, and I'm up for that. I'm up for kind of that clashing marketing style. So I hope it lives up to whatever this hype is for it. I hope it actually, like, if it's a visual novel, I'll be real. I'll be disappointed.
Yeah.
I'll be like,
yeah, we don't need any visual novel. I mean, no, nothing against people that love. I mean, Famicom Detective Club is cool. It's like that was like the only visual novel I'll even play or I played. But yeah, but definitely I would have wanted it to be a visual novel.
But like the kind of how it's sort of been built up now, just as this thing that's shown up, like the intrigue behind it. If they were like, oh, it's a visual novel, I'd be like, oh, well, all right. That was fun while it lasted.
I agree. I'll be right there with you, man.
I think they're smart enough to not tease a visual novel like this. I think they're acutely aware that they've maybe got something a little bit, I don't know if spicy is the right word, but I think interesting enough to where it kind of validates this, spooky 15-second teaser.
In the universe where this ends up being Nintendo developing this, I'd be very curious to see what their take is on a horror game with the mature rating, take the guardrails off, do what you want. I think it could be very creative about it. I actually hope it is. I hope that is the case. I hope they are the ones developing this and it's like an internal project, probably not with a big budget or anything, small scope. And they do something weird with it just to see. And it'd be fun for history as like, okay, this is Nintendo's first developed mature rated game, but it can go either way. It could be that they have contracted it out to another studio and they're just going to publish it. So either way, I think this would be an IP that they would own. So they would have a mature rated IP that they would have released then this year. So we'll keep an eye on that one though. See if we get any more trailer drops for it. I did want to bring up, we'll just go to Concord now. Concord. We had the beta. It's been running for the past yesterday and today. Ryan, we talked about this on Click R3, where they opened up the beta to PlayStation Plus members.
Did that news drop before or after we recorded? That was after, right?
Oh, it was. Oh no, it was after. That's right. So we're going into the weekend thinking it was me, but because
we just missed it.
Yes. Now that we know though that it's that sends a kind of a certain message, I think.
Well, pre-orders probably were not looking too hot because this beta phase was only for those that pre-ordered the game, and then if you did pre-order, you got 4 additional codes to give to friends. But considering it was 1 day prior to the beta actually starting, like I think it's pretty clear that it's like, all right, we're going to need more people in this thing to generate more buzz. So if you're on PlayStation 5 as a PS Plus member, any tier, then you can hop in.
I played about 2 hours, maybe a little more than that. And I've jumped around to 9 different characters. There's 16 in this. I was like tallying as I went through.
You did 9.
I've played 9 of the 16. I legitimately jumped from character to character. I think the most I've played with any one character is like 4 matches, maybe. 5
so now
matches.
you said you do 3 characters and then move on to the next. Well, I think that's what you said, right? You do 3 character or not, excuse me. You play a character 3 times and then move on to the next one, I think is what you said. So
some of the characters were not meshing, I'll admit. I played it, I was like, nope. The tanks, I'm sorry. I played a tank once and I'm like, nope. It takes so long to get anywhere for me. And I was like, it's not fun. So being a tank in that game for me anyway was not a good time. But I did play so I liked playing as Hamar, who was the crossbow pyromancer, the girl. So she throws like fireballs and they explode, and then she has this fire crossbow thing. That was pretty cool. And then you have like think it's Teo or Teo is the assault rifle soldier class. They were fine, but it was kind of like playing a lower end Call of Duty. What's that?
Teo?
Teo? Teo? I'll go with Teo.
T.O.?
Teo? Oh, Teo. Okay, there it is. Teo. It was like kind of a lesser man's Call of Duty is what it felt like playing. And Vale, who's the sniper, I thought they were pretty cool in the game. And Star Child was probably the most interesting one I played as, is next to Hamar, who basically looked like they were straight out of Guardians of the Galaxy. They were like a faster tank build almost. But the thing with this game, as I've been playing it, the game itself actually isn't bad. Like, I have to give the credit. The game is not bad. It's high quality feeling. I don't know if you saw any of the visuals or gameplay for this, Ryan, just like checking it off the cuff.
Yeah. I mean, I checked in on it because we discussed that, like, this game's not for me. So I wasn't even going to bother playing the beta. But like right before we went live, like I was watching Moist Critical's video. So I'm like, yeah, he plays these kind of games a lot. Let's see what he thinks about it. And so far he was not really warming up to it, which, to Evan's point, so when we got into the before we went live, Evan said, oh, the game's really slow. I'm like, oh, that's exactly what Critical said. That for a hero shooter, it's not nearly as fast paced and kinetic, which I wasn't expecting to hear that.
Yeah, so I do think the whole game could be sped up just a little bit. I think it could be, and it wouldn't hurt the game. But the issue they're running into right now is these are things you would figure out in an early access period, and they're just not going to get that. Like, I think it'll be too late by the time the game comes out to make any meaningful changes from what we're doing right now, because they still have another beta period next weekend, and then the game comes out a month later,
August. Yeah.
So it's right there.
It's right around the corner.
Yeah, this would have been. I'm surprised they waited this long to do the beta process. I feel like this is something they should have done in like May, maybe. So just give themselves a couple of months to play around with this stuff. Because if they do speed the game up and then find that it completely breaks a class, then they have to go back and adjust again. And there's so much work that has to be done to balance these asymmetric hero shooters that it's just it's almost overwhelming at times for that to work. I mean, Overwatch 2. I mean, they've had so much time to work with that game, or like Valorant and stuff, that it didn't happen overnight. It took a while, like, for them to figure this stuff out. And I kind of feel like this game coming out at the $40 price point, it's gonna be difficult. I feel like, for them to get it all like as good as they can get it, as perfect as they can get it. But the thing that's a shame is the visuals are good, the cutscenes are good, the presentation's good. It's all high quality stuff, like across the board. Even in game, like when you're running around with your weapons, your animations, your characters, like it all looks really, really high quality, like that AAA quote unquote level. It's good stuff, but it feels like I've played this game before, I think, is the problem I'm running into right now. It feels very much like other hero shooters, like Outright. I don't know. There's no wrinkle in there that makes me go, oh yeah, okay, I get it. This is it. I see what their vision was here. It's not pulling me in. Although, to be fair, I'm not a big hero shooter person, but I just don't see why. Let's say you're really into Overwatch. I don't really know why you would stop playing Overwatch and then go play this game, I think, is the problem. They're trying to get into a lane that I just feel like is saturated or accounted for right now. I think that's tough.
That was the problem going into this game, right? Is it, they greenlit it right around the time that these things were just coming to their sort of peak popularity, right? It's just, it seems like the game is like 5 years late.
When was this game greenlit? Or like,
well, Firewalk, this would have been a little bit prior to 2018. This is when SIE stepped in and did a play session with the game. Back in 2018 is when it was like in a pretty playable state. That's when Herman Hulse had some times down with the game, and they liked what they played. But given it's 2018, like, and there's a certain height of popularity with hero shooters, there's just a multi-year gap we're working with by the time they can ship this thing.
Do you guys remember the game that was not saying that this game is like that game, but remember that title? What was it? Lawbreakers. And it seemed like a really cool game. Everything was fine. Cliffy B, he had plenty of experience with shooters. He made Gears of War, right? And it just flamed out because it's like, oh man, it was even hero shooters were like played out even then. like nobody played the game, So I don't know. Maybe this one will be different because it's a Sony, first party deal. But I remember Lawbreakers was a really good game, played good, but also was struggling to kind of find like its own identity as well, and it ended up just flopping. Just
Lawbreakers went a weird direction because it was just about speed, momentum, basically turning Unreal and Quake into a hero shooter, which people didn't really connect with.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's its own niche because fast shooters, it limits your audience more and more, which is maybe why Concord's so slow. So I don't know.
I do think the game will find an audience right like at launch. I think there will be a bunch of people playing it and stuff. I'm more curious about how it'll work over the long run, just because competition is rough right now in that space, and a lot of the games it's competing with are free to play, which also means you don't need PlayStation Plus to play them on PS5. So you don't need that to play something like a Fortnite or I guess Overwatch 2 that's free to play, or Valorant's going to the platform. So that's the only thing they're going to run into there. But I will say this, Ryan, I'm actually very optimistic right now for fair games, believe it or not. That sounds weird coming from, I know that sounds weird, right? Because I've been like, oh gosh, okay. Because you know what? I see the quality in Concord, and that's not to me the problem at all. I think the problem right now is that they're in a space that is kind of already just decided. I sort of feel like if Fair Games comes out and it's a good Payday, I think that would actually fill a need right now, because Payday 3 fell on its face bad. It's not a good game. People went back to Payday 2 because of how bad Payday 3 was. So people are still kind of looking for that. And I just, like, Evan, you know what I'm talking about with Payday.
Yeah,
we played that a bunch.
They're slowly building it back up, but it had the curse of a game that existed for over a decade with all DLCs and new content and everything coming out. You're not matching that with a sequel. It's impossible. So it kind of screwed them over.
But we played that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And I was always looking for the next big Payday game, because Payday 2 is just old at this point. Like, it feels old. The gameplay for it, the gunplay, all that stuff does. I'm kind of thinking if Fair Games comes out and it's this kind of quality with the content that they are showing here with Concord, I sort of feel like that might actually find a nice spot.
I see what you're saying.
I'm hopeful right now.
It's kind of like we touched on this, right? Where it's like, they tried something with like Destruction All-Stars, which on its own is also a very different kind of game. Like, there's not many, vehicle combat games with like an on-foot element, and it's like, presentation wise, the game is fine. It looks quite nice. It plays fine. It's got no sort of major performance hiccups, but the sort of gameplay hook just didn't really stick with a major audience. Helldivers 2 sort of, carved out its own path, and that was the sort of niche that I say niche, but like clearly the game blew up into the stratosphere per se. But it seems like this game it sounds like it's more of the same for folks, which is maybe the uphill battle it's having. I'd be very curious to see if it's even going to do reasonably well at launch. Like, that's another conversation we had. It's like, this game comes out, right? Let's say it does pretty poor. Like, a peak player count is considerably lower than like most other, let's say, SIE published titles at the time. And you can benchmark it to other live service titles and can see it's just not really doing all that well. How long does Sony wait until they take that expected live service U-turn of like, okay, the publisher makes the game free? Because right now it's for $40 it's like, it's one thing if the game's like, oh, it's very derivative and feels bland or whatever, and it's free to play. It's another thing when they're asking $40 for it.
Yeah, that is going to be interesting, because you're right. If let's just say by the end of this year, they're struggling, the player count's down. I mean, you do kind of have to pivot quickly, and I assume you would move it to a free-to-play setup, and you could credit people $40 for battle passes or what. They can do something with that, I'm sure.
The common way is to just make some new skins, which I wonder if they have some skins in the pipe for when that happens, to just be like, oh, you all get all new skins for all the characters for having the game early. I
feel like once those memos go out, that it leaks that it's going to go free to play in like a month. The memo goes out that make the free to play skins. All of a sudden, Insider Gaming have a story on that. Yeah, man, that's tough.
It's like tough. I even see a path like I would assume a few years down the line, but like I can even see a time where Helldivers 2 becomes free at a certain point, right?
I heard they were burning that community down. Let me take a look at something.
Well, the thing with Helldivers 2, it's already sold. I'm going to estimate now 15 million copies. Like, to me, it's successful. Like, it's already successful.
It's like the same with like Destiny, right? Like Destiny was a premium paid title at first.
Yeah.
You know, at a certain point, you kind of saturate. It's like, you know, I can see I can see a timeline where that game goes free to play. Might be much further away because clearly they can sell it for now. But it just seems like some titles, when the situation is dire, you're going to have to try and make it free.
It's down to number 34 on Steam. It's getting there.
Man. You can, but what you could also do before you just go full free is you could just put it in PlayStation Plus and see if anything moves there too. Because you'd still retain that PlayStation Plus requirement, which I assume they're trying to keep right now.
Well, the problem there, though, is this is another, this is Sony's second PC, PS5 day and date title. Not to say that they're really they've really been that mindful of this. Obviously, there's many circumstances where it's still like, oh, you need Plus on PlayStation 5, or the game actually costs a little more on PlayStation 5. But as a day and date title, you would presume they want to be a bit mindful of like, okay, if they're going to lower the barrier of entry, they're just going to make it completely free to play, which means you wouldn't need Plus for it on PlayStation 5.
Yeah. I'm not sure about Concord. I'm going to play it again next weekend with the new mode and the new map. But even the mode I was playing, the one you mostly end up going through is like the beginner social matches. And it's just like team deathmatch and kill confirmed, which the objective based ones are really where a lot of the classes will come into play, because you have to usually either push a payload or you have to secure points, and then the tanks and stuff become a bit more, I think, viable for what they're supposed to be for. So that's I'll give it another shot next weekend, but I think I've played enough, and I have to go back and finish Elden Ring anyway, Shadow of the Erdtree, on the final boss. Gotta wrap that up.
Getting clapped on the final boss there.
The final boss is a problem. They're an issue right now. I don't think I'm going to spend the 60 some odd hours that the streamers spent on it.
Kai Cenat.
Yeah, thank you.
I think he spent more than 60. Didn't he spend more than that?
The streamer man.
I'm not a big Twitch person, but
he's the 3-time streamer of the year. Did you know that? 3 times.
I got to give him credit. Streaming something like Elden Ring is something else. Like streaming it all the way through, that is craziness.
It is crazy because everyone's backseating to hell and back.
And
his chat is going so fast, so it just looks like it's like a backseat bullet train. It's not even like
that's why I've been watching. That's why I've been watching Moon do it, since he's not leveling up or doing any of that. It's good.
There's something about. I know there are people who are really good at Elden Ring and they just roll right through it. There's something about watching a person who's just average or regular at the game just persevere through it, that I find way more interesting than the person who can beat the game without any armor on.
10 times more entertaining to watch somebody who's just average than to watch somebody that just knows everything. That's fine. If you know everything, make freaking videos, talking about how you know everything, right? Like make cool compilation videos of you just bodying everything. But as a stream, that's the whole point of the game, is to get your ass kicked. So watching somebody who never gets their ass kicked is not fun at all.
Yeah, I'll get through it. I got to go out and find more of these power-ups. I always mispronounce them. I call the
fragments
power-ups. I got to find more of those. And there's like Ashes of War, but I will get there. I've been killing a bunch of the optional bosses while I'm trying to find them too. So I might just accidentally end up beating all the bosses anyway.
Accidentally.
I mean, just you literally run across them. Like you find new areas, then eventually it kind of funnels you to them, and then you kill them, because I'm also getting more powerful as I find these things.
How was your fight versus Mesmer or whatever his name is? How was that fight versus
that
him?
Was weird for me because I beat them on the 4th try or something.
Okay, so pretty good.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, hold on. The first time I fought him, I got to the second phase, first shot. I was like, whoa. What? Okay. And then the second one was closer. Third one, I got blown out. And then like the 4th or 5th one, I beat him. And I was like, oh, nice. I feel like this is one that people were like raging about. And there was one that I really struggled with that people were being pretty easy. It was the commander that was on like the big horse boar thing, Gauss the commander. So that one was annoying because of their charge. And I was able to beat them after like 2 nights of working at it. But Mesmer, I don't know. I didn't have any issues with it.
I think it's based on your weapon too. Like different builds, man, can be easier or not, like based off of what you do. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. I have like a bleed build, so I found a big dragon sword when I killed a dragon, so I have that too. But I was able to beat them pretty well, so I was happy. And now the final boss is crushing me. Apparently, they're crushing MVG too, though, so it's not just me. Crushing MVG.
All the prior bosses just raised your hopes, and you're like, "This will be easy."
I know. I thought I was on something.
The deflation is there.
That final boss. That final boss is bold. I
got to the second phase first try, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna happen!" And then the first thing he does is punch the ground, and lightning explodes, and I just die.
You gotta.
Oh, come on!
Yeah, you gotta take off running. As soon as you see that, you just gotta run, or you're just gonna get. And it's like one hit. Sometimes just like one hit kill, dude. Like just.
It was funny.
Yeah, or like half your health is gone, or more than like 70% of your health is gone.
Man, it was funny. Oh, did you beat Elden Ring, Shadow, Evan? Third tree?
No, I keep going back to it, but I've got so much crap I gotta do.
I saw you playing it a couple nights. I was like, oh, he might be in there. Okay.
Maybe on it. I highly doubt I'm gonna get to the end because that's like another 100 or so hours.
I think I spent like 25 hours in the DLC so far, and I'm at the final boss.
Yeah, but I reset my character because I hated.
Well, yeah. In that case, never mind. Good luck. That's the case. Yes, you're in it for the long haul. Then let me go over to the Xbox Game Pass stuff. So this week we had a bit of a shift with Game Pass that was kind of confusing when we were trying to go through it because they changed this up quite a bit on us. So we have of course Game Pass Ultimate that has gone up to $19.99 a month. This is technically they raised the price last July and they've raised the price again this July. So they've done it 2 years in a row in terms of summertime. And now with it $20 a month, we also have Game Pass Core, which is basically Xbox Live. So they've had that for a while at like the $60 per year. That's now $75 per year. Still has like that selection of 25 games or something they throw in there. And then we have PC Game Pass that is $12 per month. That does include new games day one, as well as EA Play. And of course, you don't have to pay to play online on PC. We all know that. And then they have Console Standard. Console Standard is a curated list of games that don't include day one releases. So it still has like Xbox Live built in. That one is $15 a month, but they have indeed removed the benefit of day one releases from Game Pass technically now through this tier. And this didn't go over well online because it is a very strange thing to see at this time because to me, if it's $15 a month, I mean, you might as well sign up for the $20 a month Ultimate, which I guess is what Microsoft wants you to do anyway, is just go for that Ultimate tier. But I do wonder if this also kind of signals the viability of day one releases in general and how much money it actually costs for them to make that a reality at now. $240 a year, which is just more than three $70 games per year that you would buy to even that out.
What's interesting is we had all those rumors right before, right after ABK closed, and then right up until this very moment with all the studio closures and layoffs, where it was like, oh, is Call of Duty going to go into Game Pass? And it's like, no, it's going to go in. But then once that was confirmed, it's like, oh, well, we're hearing that they might do an extra tier that's Call of Duty only or something, or they're going to mix up the tiers again or whatever the case is. And now it seems like that actually happened. But it seems abundantly clear that the liabilities of bringing in ABK into the organization is a costly endeavor, as if that's really a surprise to anybody. This went up, PS Plus went up. It's a lot of money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
John, I don't remember what episode it was, but I forgot we were talking about Game Pass, and I think most of us, but I definitely was like, hey, Game Pass price has to go up. Because like we were talking about all the different stuff that they're getting. I'm like, dude, Game Pass prices have to go up. There's like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like I've worked for enough companies to know that there's no way in hell you spend this much money on acquisitions and like everything stays the same. They're going to do things to try to get you to go to the highest tier because it's not it's not feasible. I know, and there was a lot of pushback from people when we were saying that. I think Quick was saying that too at the time. But yeah, I mean, I expected it, so it didn't catch me off guard. I wasn't shocked or anything. I'm not Game Pass. I don't sub to Game Pass. But I'm not shocked. They had to do this. Like, there's no way they're going to give you. So you're going to get Indiana Jones. You're going to get Flintlock or whatever. You're going to get the Expedition. You're going to get Perfect Dark. You're going to get Fable. You're going to get all this stuff, and it's going to be like, oh yeah, you can just do it for like what, $15 a month. There's no way in hell they're going to give you all that. And like all of Activision, you're going to get Doom. You're going to get like, or Bethesda. You're going to get all of Activision, all Bethesda, and for $15. No way in hell that they keep the price at that. There's just no way. So
I feel like if the people paying for it skyrocketed, they would have kept it. But I mean, we've noticed that it just kind of hit a peak. It's just going like it's not going anywhere.
There's also that, right? And that's part of it. The part of it was like, okay, yeah, if you had like 50 million or 60 or 70 million, then yeah, maybe you can keep that down. But you don't. You have like 30 something million. And then Phil Spencer feels that selling consoles isn't necessarily the biggest thing with it, which we're kind of seeing now, right? We'll talk about it like with the Fire Stick stuff, right? But yeah, like they don't sell as much consoles, so you're not going to be able to have growth with Game Pass if you're not selling Xbox consoles like that. So they had to do something. So this was part of it.
So if the price increase might be related to subscription count not going up, what happens if the price increase starts crashing the subscription count? Is it just end times for Game Pass at that point?
That is interesting because you feel like they want to keep. The idea is that they at one point said we're going to try to reach 2 billion gamers. I think it was Phil Spencer said that.
They could have just made up a number and it would have been something they wanted. Yeah.
It was the 2 billion number. Yeah.
Yeah. So 5 trillion. We want 5 trillion.
I think the obvious thing now is if the consoles so we hear that the Xbox Series is tracking even behind the Xbox One at this point, which we know how that got out of the gate and how that struggled pretty much throughout its entire life. It's pretty clear then that their console growth for Game Pass has basically stagnated, which I think they've also mentioned before in interviews. Yeah. So at this time, it's like, okay, let's try to get more money out of the people who are currently paying, because we're not getting more people to pay in. Then it's like we need just the people who are currently paying to give us $2 or $3 more now, per month.
The important thing is, so this is what Sony did too, right? Like, because arguably, PlayStation Plus is doing better because there's more PS5s out there. Sony has the same problem. The only way they make more money is by extracting a higher average spend out of the same customers, because PlayStation Plus has also saturated. They might have more subscribers in the neighborhood of like 48 to 50 million. It's always around there. It just varies by quarter. But that was the whole point of consolidating tiers and doing extra and premium, and then it going up even more because it's just charging more money out of the same people. They're not reaching new customers, and they knew that. The problem with Microsoft is that when you have considerably less Xboxes than PlayStations out there, and you're trying to ship day one games on it, something has to give.
Yeah, I think at this point I feel like we all understand and expect that subscription services just go up in price. Like, I look at Netflix, and when that thing charges and I look and it's like, it cost you $23 this month for Netflix. I'm like, oh, really? Jesus, that much now? Yeah. It's it's funny. You kind of miss the days of the cable packages now. You start looking at all your subscription services and they stack up, and it's
I dumped, like last month. I was like, I'm done, man. I got rid of a lot of mine that I had, like HBO and all this crap. I'm like, I don't even use half of it. I'm just gonna roll with like Prime and that. I actually get if you have T-Mobile, you get Netflix. So for those who have T-Mobile, you just get. So I got that. So really, all I got is Crunchyroll and Prime, but I use Prime for shipping too. So yeah, you got the prices are going up for everything. So I think what we're trying to say here is like, listen, Microsoft is not doing something that's like crazy, right? Like, the prices are going up, and even with this, even though I'm not a Game Pass person, whatever, like, you still get all that crap for $240 a year. Like, if you're into first like Microsoft stuff and Bethesda and Activision, it's well worth it, right? For what you're going. I mean, I think I don't. But it seems like it's worth it. It seems like if you get Doom and you get Call of Duty and you get Perfect Dark and you get Fable and you get, and there's going to be like Expedition 33, you're going to get cool third-party games and stuff. I think it's probably worth it to do the higher tier. I mean, if you're into Xbox and that's what you like to play, Right. The problem is time, though. That's the problem. The problem is like, you got all this cool stuff, but are you actually going to have time as an adult, full-time job, family, whatever the case is? And plus, like, let's say you have PlayStation or you have Nintendo, like, and you like to play games on there too, or if you have PC, Steam sales, whatever the case is, are you going to have time to actually play all this crap that's there? Like, that'd be the thing for me. It's like, yeah, you got a lot, but man, I don't know if I have time to even get into all this on top of everything else that I play.
I could see if you're a parent and you're thinking, look, I just whatever, $20 a month and that's it. That's all I need to do. I feel like for parents, then it's like, yeah, it's whatever. We'll just do it that way. But it comes down to, as I mentioned, 3 $70 games, then another $30. So you got to think, okay, am I going to buy these 3 games this year, or am I just going to do Game Pass because I'm going to move on from these games anyway? I think that's just how people are looking at it. It's like, I'll spend $20 a month. I'll try them out. And I guess if I like them, I'll buy them or whatever.
That's assuming too that you would even like for sure spend $70 on 3 new video games. Like,
right.
People are still fiscally, mindful of their own spending. Chances are if you pencil out $240 a year, that's a lot of money for most households. You can come in way under a la carte buying. But this is OJ is exactly right with the whole, it depends on how time rich or time poor you are. Like, I probably can't get any mileage out of it. I can't even get mileage out of PS Plus or any subscription, to be honest. But if I was younger, even at $20 a year, like, it's a grand slam deal. If you've got all the time in the world, it's still a crazy deal, even though you might say, $240 a year. But
if you got time,
yeah.
Some people I know treat this as like a game binge, like almost how you binge watch stuff on Netflix. They check what's on there, they see the things they haven't played, and they go, all right, I've got time in the next 3 months to just go ham. I'll pay the price and I'll just go, and then I'll stop the price, and that's it.
Like, I feel like this kind of reminds me of back in the day. I feel like it was for summer. I remember I got the Sega channel and I had it for a whole summer, and that was it. And I had to take it back after the summer because my parents were like, we'll get that for you for the summer. We'll pay the 3 months or whatever. And that's it. Don't bug us for any kind of rentals or nothing. And I was like, okay, cool.
We'll do that. It was great.
It was cool. It was, the only thing that was funny is Mortal Kombat 3 was 2 ROMs on that. So you had to download 2 different games at a time. So like if you wanted to play half the roster, you downloaded that part of Mortal Kombat 3 on the Sega channel. It was very weird stuff. But that's how it worked. And I'm kind of envisioning that as like the new Game Pass thing now. If you are in summer right now and your parents are like, whatever, here, there's $60 for the summer, and that's all you're going to play. In that case, there's a large library stacked up. I understand the obvious benefit there.
Here's the thing. Like, I know like the parent thing, because like I think I have the oldest child here, right? Out of all of us. Yeah, I do. Okay, my daughter's 12.
Sean would be the oldest child here if he was here.
My daughter's 12 and she plays games and stuff, but I'm telling you, man, a lot of the kids and even some of the older kids, they're like, yo, Fortnite's right there. Like, the parents don't even gotta, it's like Roblox is right there, and you can play 5 billion different games within Roblox. You can play horror games, you can play all sorts of stuff. Fortnite has all sorts of different games within that. Like, who is I have infinite time children's market? Like, I don't know, for these type of games, like games that are going to take you 10, 15, 20, 30. I was like, who's the market for that specific thing? I think there might be, but like Netflix is a bit different because you can sit down and bang out a bunch of shows on Netflix. It doesn't take any effort. Gaming, you got to actually,
it's like a passive experience.
Yeah, it's passive. You just sit your butt down and watch. Like, I can sit down and watch The Boys all day, but you tell me to sit down and play Game Pass games, I'm be like, hell no, I ain't sit down and playing Game Pass or whatever all day. But I can sit down and watch something because I don't got to put any effort into it. But games, you got to actually put effort and time and thought and think. So I don't know, man. Like, I hope it works out for him. I just don't know if this is the move, but we'll see how the whole Amazon Fire Stick stuff works with Game Pass and all, which we'll talk about. So
yeah, I don't know. The Roblox thing's a great point. They're fighting against that too.
I asked my daughter, what do you want? Get me Roblox. And she likes games. She likes it. I want Roblox. I want Fortnite things. It's like, I think that right there is like, why pay $240 a month when you can just do like Roblox and get, like, they're not as good as the games, right? But a lot of these kids, man, they don't care. Like, and I sit there and look at it, and I play Roblox with it, and I'm like, dude, don't you want to play game? I'm thinking, don't you want something else? Like, you don't want like actual games? She's like, nope, I want this. Or they buy Minecraft and they just play.
Minecraft's very popular.
Minecraft, and we're all looking at it like, man, this is what? That's what you want? but to them, that's their Mario Bros. That's their God of War or whatever. Like, so I don't know, man.
Yeah, I guess at least it's month to month. So if you got time for a month, you could throw a 20 in and just there's a bunch of games you can play for a bit if you just have free time like that. But that's the other thing for me is like I think we've all established subscription services going up in price. That standard tier is just so strange because when they announced Game Pass, like the big move being day one games, and I think it was $10 a month at that time. It is weird that like 6 years later, we now have a tier that is just completely absent of that, and it's $5 more than it originally started. And we have the other thing is there's no clear communication as to how long until these day one games go into this standard tier. Because I think Jez Corden mentioned on Twitter, he had a response from Microsoft that it was going to be a case-by-case basis, which is like their favorite phrase to use for any of this case-by-case basis. So I have no idea when Indiana Jones comes out. I don't know when it goes into the standard tier. A year later, 2 years later, it's really hard to say. I mean, and they also stop people from stacking these subscriptions too. So
yeah, you can't. I mean, if I'm Microsoft, I'm not telling people when I'm doing it because you're going to cannibalize the $20 tier. But the standard one is also, I think, pretty telling. That's them acknowledging we understand 20 is a lot of money per month, especially because, as you just mentioned, they closed up most of those loopholes with the dollar conversion thing and everything. You can't stack it up super far out, and so they're closing up all that. There's no annual option to get it down. If you buy up a full year, like Sony will let you do that, or NSO offers that too, right? You can buy a year annually, and that gets the average price down.
It shaves off like a couple pennies a month.
Yeah, it's something, but they're not offering that. This is them acknowledging, like, we get it. 20 is a lot. Here's a different tier that's still going to have a lot of titles on there. I assume that's why they're doing it. Otherwise, it does kind of go directly against the grain of what this entire service has been pitching since 2018 it would have been.
Yeah, it's been a while now. Yeah. So I just figured they were still in this customer acquisition phase because it doesn't seem like the service has grown much, like since a year or two ago. But I guess they're kind of like, no, this is we're kind of leveling now, so we need to start getting more money. So I'm sure that Activision. Well, we'll see with Call of Duty because that is going in day one. So for people who buy Call of Duty every year, sometimes they buy the $100 some odd version. And then they move on to the next one, then the next one. And in that case, they might look at this like, it's easy enough to just buy Game Pass and I get it every year. So, and also MLB The Show, that might be any of these numbered sports games that go into the service. That's probably like the best addition for people because those games depreciate so fast as it is. But that's Game Pass. It's going to be interesting for Microsoft. I got to see what Call of Duty does to this service because I'm curious what happens if Game Pass just gets completely stuck and it is just not growing and maybe starts retracting. What's the move then?
That we're not sure. To Phil's credit, he did openly say, like, somewhat recently that he more or less openly said, like, it's not going to be the be all end all model. Saying he expects it to be like 10-15% of the overall revenue of the Xbox business, and he imagines a world where just the entire amount of money that they bring in gets larger, which means that's a larger 10-15% of the overall portfolio. So in a way, they've already sort of submitted to the idea that this thing is not necessarily going to be the number one way people buy and access games.
It's weird when he says that because they don't seem that interested in selling console, or at least they don't seem like they feel like they need to keep selling consoles at a rapid clip. Like Sony, it's very clear they're being pressed. Like, we got to keep selling PlayStation. We got to do it. Microsoft's like, if it happens, it happens. I mean, they're saying things which we might as well go into this now too, because it directly piggybacks off of this with the Xbox Fire TV streaming stick. They're saying things like no console required. And that is really catching some people off guard when they use that kind of marketing term. It's like, whoa, okay, hold on. No Xbox required, huh? And it technically, yes, you just need your Amazon Fire TV stick, an Xbox control. I shouldn't even say that. A DualShock would work. You could use that.
A DualSense?
And DualSense. A DualShock works too. You can use your PlayStation 4 controller on Game Pass. You can.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's all you need. And people are trying it out. It's the game streaming experience. It's like if you have, like I have my Samsung TV out in the living room that has the app on it already, so I don't even need the Fire TV stick for that. And it's okay. I mean, certain games it's much more noticeable than others. Like Ryan, you mentioned when you were doing your PlayStation Portal streaming, when you play Yu-Gi-Oh, it's turn-based, it's menu-based, you're not going to notice it.
Depends. It's highly dependent on the game. Some games it's totally usable, and a lot of others not so much.
The game that I've noticed is most affected by game streaming for me is any faster racing game. Forza, at least from what I've experienced, that is like one of the most noticeable in terms of lag. I assume fighting games too, but I don't really play a lot of fighting games, so I couldn't tell you one way or the other.
I'd imagine those are unplayable, at least for like somebody that's super into fighters.
I figure, but I remember Stadia really tried to push some of these fighting games. It was very strange.
Yeah, they kept claiming that because you're connecting to someone anyway, you're already at that middle point. You're basically just watching the middle point from the server, and it shouldn't feel too different, but it kind of does.
I haven't tried it with a Fire Stick yet. I have one. I haven't tried it yet though. What I really wanted to do was sync up a DualSense controller and use that to play an Xbox game over it, just to see how it would do. It seems interesting enough to try that. But I don't know if Microsoft is thinking that because so many of them are out there, which there are a lot of Fire TV sticks out there, if they think that people are going to just start playing Xbox games through that. I'm not sure if that is going to be a massive jumpstart like they're hoping. No.
Sony tried this like 10 years ago, and it didn't work then. I don't expect it to work now. Back then, it was the same thing with PlayStation Now. Get a DualShock 3, some Sony Bravia TVs or some Samsung TVs, and you can like stream PS3 and PS4 games directly from a TV without any console. I think it's just like in the here and now, a pipe dream. If people want to play console games or even just sort of AAA, fancy experiences, they'll go out and buy a console or a PC. This is the consumer habit we've had for how long now? It still has not changed.
Yeah, obviously people who are playing on console now and just prefer the native experience aren't just going to drop them and then just run the game streaming. I've always kind of viewed it as more of a convenience, kind of like last ditch option sort of thing. If that's just what you have, there you go, you can do it. I do wonder if people, obviously a lot of these companies think that game streaming is going to be the next big thing. I do wonder what if it just never happens? What if it just never takes off? It's kind of like 3D. I don't say like just like 3D TV, because it was pretty clear early on that just wasn't going to work. I just wonder what if game streaming is like where it is now. That's just as far as it ever goes. It's I understand removing the barrier of the console, but people seem to like the barrier of the console. At least the people who are really plugged in for it. My biggest problem is you still have to buy a controller, and that'll always be a barrier of entry for people. Like, you need a controller. So you're not just going to sit there in the middle of the night and just randomly be like, oh, I want to play this new Fallout game. Obviously, I have an Xbox controller in the drawer for some reason. Let me grab that. Whereas you might be looking on Amazon and be like, oh, I want to watch this Fallout series. Let me sign up for Amazon Prime. Boom, there we go. I'm in. You don't need, as OJ mentioned, it's a passive piece of entertainment. So that's always been the issue that I've seen, is that controller is the hang up for people if they don't just have something laying around.
Which is wild, because I hate to say this too, man, but like kids today, they don't even know how to use controllers. Some kids don't even.
It's all touchscreen, baby.
Yeah,
I've wondered this.
They don't even know how to use. My daughter is very bad, even though she played games younger, but she never really got good at using a controller. And a lot of her friends also don't know how to use controllers. They know how to use Wii remotes or some stuff like that sometimes, but they don't know how to use freaking, when they see controllers, they automatically just go, and we're talking like 14, 15, 16, not knowing how to use controllers, which is just heartbreaking to be.
I've actually kind of wondered this, because what's interesting is, like, if you have somebody just use a controller now that never really plays games, or even people who are maybe a bit older, like your mom, dad, or whoever, you hand them a controller, they're like, I don't get it. And now we're probably going to have the newer generation come up that is mostly, as Evan mentioned, mobile, like tablet, phone, touchscreen stuff. And they're going to look at a controller and be like, I don't get it. So like, there's this weird sweet spot that we're in where we understand like the dual stick configuration, left is move, right is that kind of thing. And it's very odd that the controller might become less familiar to a generation as they're coming up, just because there's touch screens.
What if that's just the next shift, though? Like the next controller is just basically a sideways cell phone, and it's just you move the buttons around, just go with it.
See that if that's the next big breakthrough, is figuring out how to make a touch screen feel as responsive as a controller, which is I can't even wrap my mind about how that happened.
Well, I don't even think that
actual
matters.
Input and feedback and stuff from pressing certain parts, and it feels like there are buttons there. And
yeah, I don't even think that matters for some of the kids. I mean, if the goal is to get the new generation into it, I mean, maybe just have that as a separate one until all of us die out, and then it'll just be touchscreen controllers from here on out. It's good.
I mean, I definitely think like the next thing I feel Nintendo might do is even with their next system is like where you can sync up a phone and just use that, be able to use that. And I think that's going to be something that all the companies end up just doing, to where you can just use a cell phone as a, like, even if it's like the button prompts on this, on the screen might be crap, but they might feel more comfortable with that than even just using a controller, which is crazy to me. But
I think we'll be using consoles and controllers for a very long time.
I've wondered if we've been due for some kind of controller breakthrough for a generation or two now, but nothing's really happened that's been like mind blowing, like the analog stick or something like that. We just haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I also don't want to make it seem as if, oh my God, the world's falling with controllers. Like, no, there's still going to be people 10, 20 years from now probably using a controller or using controllers. It's not like all kids are like that. There are new kids that are great in, Fortnite or great in whatever, and they're using controllers and stuff.
Oh,
and
sure.
There's backbone controllers for mobile that I have seen people use that as well, like younger audience use that. So I don't think controllers are going anywhere. It's just interesting to see like how many kids aren't like, us growing up, like using a controller was like, okay, yeah, that's NES, right? NES, or it's like, that was what we did from the very beginning. Whereas now it's like, well, no, that's not the most popular control input. Now at this point, for a lot of people, the most popular control input is a phone for so many people.
More just the view from these companies who have to keep generating more and more revenue, but they're getting as much as they can seemingly out of the people that are already involved. So they have to get more and more people in. And it's like that 2 billion gamer mark. While we were like, oh yeah, okay. They're like, oh no, we need to get to 2 billion gamers. I don't think you understand what the 25-year roadmap looks like right now. We need 2 billion gamers. So
the way to do it is just build games for those screens properly for those screens. I'd argue we're like already basically in that period. Like the console business and even PC to a degree hasn't necessarily gotten lower. It's just sort of lived through this transformative, these transformative years where there's just more people, buying and playing video games, but now it's just additional users, but they're in a different landscape. That being, smartphone and tablets. There's more people playing, but like the console business hasn't grown in like 30 something years. It's always 250 million people that buy and play consoles. I don't think that number is going to get dramatically lower in 10 years, but it's certainly not going to get any bigger. And I feel like the impedance of a lot of this younger generation coming in that are playing on screens, that's just, they're already here.
It feels like they're also buying into convenience of having those mobile devices too. So that's, I've said it before. I think the big move is basically cyclical, and we go back to the big three having a handheld of some kind each. I think that is or a hybrid, whatever. I think that's the move, is we're going to get back to that point, which is kind of cool, I think. So.
Even in that case, though, if the platform holders are all making handhelds, they're still going to make the kind of handhelds that are conducive to the kind of experiences that we like on console and PC. That's why I think it's just a pipe dream. This whole let's reach 2 billion people by making the kind of games that we play nowadays available on smartphones and tablets. It just doesn't work, and it hasn't worked.
But it sounds really nice to say to investors. So
it sounds lovely. It sounds lovely to shareholders, but like, how many failures have we seen so far? It just doesn't work. Like, just you want to reach 2 billion customers, make smartphone games. Yeah, that's why Microsoft acquired King. That's why Sony.
You can still use the IP that you've built up too. You just need a mobile game, is what you're saying. Mobile version of it. It's
not about putting Kratos on iPhone. It's make a God of War iPhone game. It's got to be specifically for it. It sounds bleak, but like, it's got to be an experience conducive to the smartphone. You can't put like God of War 2018 on there and expect people are going to fall in love with it or make it streamable to a phone. People just don't want to play them on there. They don't. There's always going to be a market for PC console, and there's always going to be this much larger market as we live in right now for smartphones and tablets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we've kind of we saw that with those the iPhone games, right, Ryan? We talked about that where that was just
like Death Stranding on iOS and pretty much all these other AAA games that are getting shipped to iPhone now, and like it's pretty cool to see them, but like they're not selling. It's a different marketplace.
Yeah, what was how many did they sell?
They were estimating it, and it wasn't looking good. It was a couple thousand.
Yeah, 3,000 copies of like Resident Evil and stuff like that.
It's like Apple had to foot the bill to get those games Death Stranding, I believe, ported over. Correct? I mean, it's just.
Yep.
What are we doing here?
Handing out the bag to random people. It sounds like.
You want to make iOS and Android games? Then make proper iOS Android. Go ahead, lean into it. Make a Diner Dash. Make another Candy Crush. Make those kind of games. And in fairness, like some, I'll argue like some thrive on there. Like if you can do a proper sort of, like a Genshin Impact that can live on iPhone and console and have that cross progress. I mean, some games obviously they do work, right? I'm not going to act like they don't work all the time, but generally speaking, we've seen that you can't just like ship anything on there and expect it's going to find an audience.
Yeah, that's true. I know like mobile. People I don't like Fire Emblem Heroes. Like I don't like Fire Emblem Heroes, but man, that game was like super successful, like the most successful Fire Emblem game of all time. Like Fire Emblem Heroes mobile.
The thing people need to understand about that too is when these big companies can extract that kind of money from the mobile phone market, I mean, they would also use that money to just make then more games or other things like that. So to me, it's like, get as much money as you can at that mobile market. If you have to just make cell phone games that lean into it, then do that. So and they can stop searching for the 2 billion gamers that apparently exist.
They do. Just do it right. Cater to them correctly.
Let me go over to the super chats here. Here we go. We have Larvia says, played a bit of Concord beta and thought it wasn't bad, but definitely won't get it for $40. That's the uphill battle, is that $40 tag. Liza Phil Spencer says Xbox 2027 can't wait till it's gone fire, Phil. Gosh. This is Fonzie says, hi guys, Evo next weekend. Should have some cool announcements. When are we getting a fisticuff stream? I'm not great at fighting games, but I know Evan and Sean play Street Fighter. Yeah, OJ plays Smash Brothers. He's very good at that. But like King of Fighters and stuff, that might be Evan's wheelhouse too. Hey, would wrestling count? Does WWE count? I can play that. I'll play 2K24 when it works, which is almost
I
never.
love me some Pokken.
There you go.
Pokken quite a bit. So those are like my
I have Pokken, but I'm not playing for online on the Switch.
Actually, when Nate and I play WWE 2K24, it does end up being rather entertaining. So maybe I'll record that one time and post it up so people can see. It's a lot of fighting between me and Nate when it's happening. So Liza Phil Spencer again. It says OJ, will Gerard make the cutoff for awards and Boogie?
They will absolutely be in the Spawncast Awards show
gosh.
coming year.
Dingo, it's the little smiley face there. Remember for 36 months. Shout out to Dingo. Paul Gale Network says, I gotta say, check out second trailer for Emio. Wild. Paul Gale put up a video on Twitter X. Check it out. Casual Noob Gamer says Emio takes off the mask and it's Mario revealing 3D game. Well, that's because an interesting Mario game since we rated mature. Chris, no masters. Thanks, Chris. Dope. It's Drew says, feel my 2017's Switch's battery is cooked. Can really only play an hour not docked. Is it worth getting an OLED V2 Switch or wait out for the successor? Well, I would recommend, I mean, honestly, at this point, we all assume the successor is at least getting announced here in the next few months. I feel like it'll be announced before the end of the year, but we'll see. The battery is actually not terribly difficult to change out.
Yeah, I think it's like one panel.
You still have to open it. It's glued down. I get it. There's work involved. It's not terrible, but I would hold out a bit longer if you can, because I think At least get a look at the successor.
Could probably get somebody to, if you don't feel like doing it, some like one of these like cell phone stores to do it for you if you buy the battery.
Yeah,
batteries aren't crazy. If this was
either.
me, I'd buy just an external battery, just kind of tough it for a few months, see what happens.
I'd get a look at that successor because I kind of feel like the successor would be. I'm still assuming it's going to be like 400. So if you bought a Switch OLED or a V2 for 300 or 350, you might look at them and be like, oh, well.
Yeah. You're going to regret it. You know?
Yeah. We're so close. We're so close, Drew. Just hold out a little longer. Omar says, cross my fingers, Emio is the Happy Mask Salesman origin story. Yo, if somehow Emio tied into some sort of Nintendo IP, that would be crazy. Perfect Image says Xbox and PlayStation game PS Game Pass excluding 40,000 to 60,000 people. Doggy says thoughts on Double Dragon taking the AAA route.
That is not a AAA game.
I saw the trailer, so I saw the screenshots, and I was like, I saw the trailer, I was like,
my man, Doc, please, brother, that is not a AAA game by any stretch of the imagination.
I still haven't played it, so I don't know how it necessarily feels. The combos and stuff.
Bro, this is like getting me uncomfortable as a big Double Dragon fan. Listen, no, I get it. Like they're going with 3D graphics, right? I think that's what he's mainly talking about. It's like, it's not pixel-aided, it's 3D, but I don't know if this, like I said, a long time. I've been playing Double Dragon since the 80s, man. As a long time Double Dragon fan, like, I don't know about this one. Like, if they were going to spend that type of money, I would have liked to see a cool cell-shaded type of, like, maybe like Street Fighter 6, but a little bit more flattish looking, right? Like, I would have liked to see something like that, not what they showed. But we got to wait and see. Let's play the game. But yeah, I'm not in love with what they're doing there with Double Dragon, but it still could be good. I play every Double Dragon, so we'll see what happens when it comes out. But yeah.
Elementopio. It says the current Game Pass subs don't get hit much compared to new subs. Core tier not needed. Right. So the current Game Pass subs don't get hit, but they're not going to let you stack these. So they're hoping that eventually people's subscriptions lapse or something happens, and then you come back and you can't get back on the old tier. So
they're hoping to charge them more.
Yeah, that's kind of what's happening right now. Shout out to Elementopio. And then they say, I think you can use any controller with Amazon GP. With yeah, I guess you could. You use most controllers. They have like a list of them you can use. And it's like a lot of third-party ones there too. SB says, can the group please suggest a quality PS5 or PS4 wireless controller with Hall effect thumbsticks? OEM or third-party? Thanks.
Well, there's no OEM options. So it would be strictly third-party.
Yeah. It'd be third-party. With Hall effect, though?
What's the new 8-bit DOE controller work with?
I don't know if it works with PS5, though.
Yeah, I don't think it does either.
Yeah, those are Xbox and Switch and PC.
If you absolutely need PS5, that would only be playable on a PS5 playing PS4 software, which would be annoying.
Yeah.
There was somebody that was going to manufacture Hall effects for the DualSense Edge, since you could just slot them in, but I don't think they've actually put those out yet either.
Yeah, in that case, that would probably be the move. Although you're then also spending
a lot of money
on the controller. It's like a little bit of money, yeah. So that's kind of an issue there. But I don't know. When you get into the third-party Hall, and apparently there's like a new technology now that is being pushed into controllers that they're saying is better than Hall effect, I guess. So that's still kind of up in there, but that's tough. Nothing comes to mind with the PlayStation 5 for a Hall effect.
I don't follow third-party controllers enough. I'm sure someone.
Yeah, Ryan's got a whole thing against these third-party controllers. He does like this when you bring it by.
I just don't like them. I like OEM, always OEM, even though obviously that's not great when they break on you.
Right. Hey, maybe. Although I guess these companies, I don't think the first-party companies want to get into Hall effect because they find it either too experimental still, I guess, even though technically it was in the Dreamcast controller. Or they just want you to buy another controller if it starts to drift. Let's be real.
They just don't want to. They don't want to spend the parts, the part cost.
Yeah. Chris Ramsey, and then Chris Ramsey again. Shout out to Chris, says it's going to end up like that scene in Back to the Future 2. You mean you have to use your hands? That's like a baby's toy. Thanks,
Gene said Scuff controllers. I didn't know if Scuff had Hall effect sensors in their sticks.
Oh,
do the Scuff have them?
We will find out. Give me 1 second. We'll take a look. We'll investigate.
Go ahead and tell us, Gene, because I thought Scuff didn't have them. That's why I didn't say, but I don't follow it enough.
Elemental says Call of Duty is huge on mobile with controller. It is.
Yeah,
Call of Duty is big everywhere.
That's why I clarified. Like, there's some games do it. Some games absolutely do live on the phone well.
Denizen of Light says the DS is a perfect example of a device that utilizes a touchscreen well. If developers could use the DS as an example on how to make great touch control games and bring that to tablets, it'd be nice.
Well, the DS uses a stylus though, and they don't want to have an extra thing like holding your phone with one hand and tapping like that. So that's not going to be a thing. They just want you to be able to play it without any type of other, thing with it.
The stylus finger inputs are way different.
Yeah. With the DS, they were developing for that system specifically, so they knew you would have that for a stylus. Whereas with a phone or tablet, I mean, there's so many of them out there.
And I don't think every phone even works with styluses, right? Most phones,
I know obviously they have like pens now for like, they have the Apple Pen that's like stupid expensive. Samsung has one. Yeah. And that's the other thing. It's such a scatter shot of everything now.
I don't think my phone is really that well with styluses and stuff. So
like the Note. I remember the Samsung Note. I had that for a while. That had a stylus that would pop out of the bottom, and that was kind of nice, but it was limited. Minato Mario says, awesome podcast. By the way, have you guys seen the second Emio trailer? Can't believe it's actually Paul Gale. Minato Mario just spoiled the whole thing. Shout out to Minato Mario. T-Joe says, just curious, how does one get people together to play retro NSO games online? Just finished Zelda A Link to the Past for GBA. Still need to do Four Swords.
Yeah. You'd join a community, like have a Discord, and you'd have to plan it beforehand because there's no matchmaking. So
hey, that's the night. There you go. Good suggestion for the future. Matchmaking for these.
Matchmaking would be great for NSO. That would be like the next thing that would be really good, so you don't have to worry about getting everybody together. I mean, it's easy for us because we have the communities, to get it done, but and like a Discord or something, but not everybody has that. So yeah, matchmaking would be good.
All right, let's go over to. I want to bring this up. I feel the need to, because it technically has something to do with physical media with Redbox. I'm actually curious how many people used Redbox like that. I used it like twice, I think, Redbox, but they are officially liquidating. They were going to declare bankruptcy and I think try to come up with a plan to remain in business, but they don't have a business plan to do that. So they've moved now to, I believe, Chapter 7, and they're just going to liquidate everything. Like it got to the point where the judge basically told all the employees to go home because Redbox doesn't have enough money to pay people. So Redbox is basically gone after, I think in August, they're completely officially gone. And they're just liquidating everything now. So that's that accounts for 24,000 of those kiosks, by the way, those stations. That's a lot. I didn't realize there was a
grocery store near me, and I never see anyone at it.
I used to see people use Redbox. I used to use Redbox all the time, but I don't know why. I know why I stopped, because they never had the ish that I wanted, and I was lazy as hell. Sometimes I don't feel like going back there, so I'd rather just like use Amazon and just buy a game or something.
I feel like there was a scam at one point too, where people would just like take a picture of a disc and then glue it to a CDR and then return it that way.
There was some scams.
Take it that way.
Yeah, there were some scams for sure.
That's crazy.
Yeah, for me it was like I don't need to rent stuff anymore. Like I'm not broke, so I can just actually buy what I want.
Coming at Redbox, people. Jesus.
No, I'm just saying that's how I was before. I was like, I can't afford to buy what I want, so I got to rent a bunch of stuff. So Nate's not broke either, but his ass would be at Redbox, so he's probably crying a tear. He's probably bawling tears right now.
I think for movies, I know they did games up until 2019. I think they stopped because probably the stuff you're saying, like games stopped coming back, or they were coming back in ways of people just getting over on this. I assume when you put the disc back in, it does some sort of scan on the disc to make sure it's the correct thing, and people figured out, like you said, you can apparently just print out a piece of paper and stick it to the top of a CDR. But outside of that, they stopped doing games in 2019, so not as big of a deal for physical media in terms of games. I will say, though, for movies, which does account for a lot of Blu-ray right now, and we've already kind of talked about recordable media for Blu-ray, going through it a bit, that's a lot of customers basically to lose, of 24,000 kiosks going away. And it's funny because Blockbuster got put out of business from Netflix and also technically Redbox because they were lighter to run because you didn't have a whole store to keep up. And now they're going out of business seemingly because of the streaming stuff. So it just keeps going around in circles. But keep an eye on that Redbox, Evan, near you. See when it eventually just disappears. They might run sales too. They might just sell stuff out of it for super cheap. That might happen as well. I did that one time. I remember this. They were running a liquidation thing on games, and I think it was Final Fantasy 15 on the Xbox One. I didn't have it on the Xbox One. I had it on the PS4, but it was $2. And I think I paid it, and I went by, and it like kicks the disc out to you in like this little plastic sleeve. And I was like, it was $2, whatever. But
surprised it wasn't less, like $1 or something.
It was cheap enough. I remember to where I was like, okay, I'll get that. Sure. Why not? It's $2 just to see what it was like. And I guess most people used it for, I think they did like dollar movies where you'd have it for a night. You'd show up, get a movie out of the Redbox for $1 and then bring it back the next day. So I think people use that a lot for movies mostly. I didn't really think of Redbox for games necessarily, but
I did it for both. I used it for movies and for games in like the mid 2000s ish or 2010s ish or 2016. I remember using it a lot at that point. But then, streaming just kind of took over, for movies. Like you just get like Amazon Prime, like you just get a bunch of movies and shows. So why even go out when you have everything right there at your fingertips, And I don't want to, so.
Here in Western New York, we had a local family video store up until COVID.
Oh,
that finally did it. But we had them. That was 2020. That 4 years ago, we had video stores.
If I found out that there was a video store within driving distance to me, and I say within driving distance, like it's 30 minutes or less away, I would probably go there and I'd check something out. I like a movie or something, just for that experience again, because it does feel like that was another.
Would you give them business?
Yeah, I would go. I would go there. I'd sign up for the membership. I would do that for the whole experience, if nothing else, but to educate the kids as to what us old people used to do back in the day. It is kind of a lost experience now with entertainment, because that was a whole thing. Coming home with the movie, like now we just hit a button and the movie's there and that's it. Dude, there was so much to the experience where you take the journey to the store, and the whole time in the car ride you're excited for like what game or movie you're gonna get. Then you walk around and you look at all the stuff, and then
oh my god, that
there was a whole thing.
You cannot replicate that feeling of going to, like, for me, it was a Video City, or there was like whatever, and the feeling of you don't know what you're going to get. You're going to go there. Oh my God. Like, what are we going to get? What are we going to get? This is like probably like NES era, Super Nintendo era. And I just remember me and my brother, we were just being super hyped. There was Little Caesars. It was like a Video City, like right next to each other. And we would get pizza and we would also get a game. And that was like the greatest thing ever. But yeah, you can't. Today's day, you can't really replicate
that. We used to still have that with I remember the N64 and the PS1.
Absolutely. I did it all throughout that. NES. Yeah. Back then, there was so many mom and pop shops for like NES. You can go. There was like a bunch, man. So there's such a variety that you could go to. Like there were so many different like official ones and like mom and pop shops for that stuff, which was cool.
There was a Hollywood video.
Hollywood Video, yeah.
Where in Delaware when I lived there, and that was it. That was the place to go. Although they did put out the small mom and pop store that was there, so
Oh, you worked there?
Right. I worked at Hollywood. I don't know if I worked at his Hollywood Video, but I worked at one. We had a person drive through our front window. It was great.
Were you at the counter and just watched it happen in front of you?
Nah, one of the guys that got hired when I did was. You could see him on the camera. He was like the ghost left his body. He was just sitting there like, "Am I alive?"
Like no, just somebody just running in the car, just
drove through the front. Why?
They were just an old person put it into drive instead of reverse.
Oh my gosh, man. That's
I got a call.
Accelerator.
I got a call from one of the neighboring stores, and they were like, "Yo, be careful going outside. Someone was here saying they were gonna kill you." I was like, "What?" And he was like, "You said you didn't smile when you rung him up." I was like, "What the fuck? Like, are you kidding?"
Well, we know that was you. Guilty as charged.
No, yeah, it was me, 100%. I'm working retail. I'm not smiling at you. It's not happening.
You don't smile even when you're having fun. I meet Evan for the first time. Hey, how's it going, Evan? Hey. I was like, "Fuck you, man."
I would never rent a movie from you.
I wouldn't want you to. Yu-Gi-Oh player.
I'm not buying any booster packs at the front of the store either, next to all the candy.
Evan's like, "Damn right, I didn't smile. You got
Those were the good.
Like, damn right,
those were the good days.
Those
I'll
were the
do
good
it
days.
again.
Yep.
Almost dying at retail.
I was gonna say, renting movies, games, risk of accidental manslaughter by car. Good days. Good days. Yeah, those are time. I'm telling you, if a video store opened up for whatever reason and the person decided they wanted to lose a ton of money, I would go there and at least rent
At least once, make a video and make bank on YouTube.
I would never do it, but I do understand why people redo their entire basement to kind of relive that movie store thing. I understand. I get it, because that feeling is like you're never getting that feeling back. I understand, but those are the good days.
I mean,
that's the end of Redbox.
Look behind Ryan. It's basically a movie store back there, just with games.
Have you looked up those
Yeah,
videos on
like
YouTube where people do that? Like they set up their entire basement basically as a video store, and it has the entire, like they find apparently standees, they find like neon signs, and they make it look like the Blockbuster, the Hollywood Video, or wherever it was that they remember from when they were younger. Like they will get movies from that time period and just put it up on the shelves.
Yeah, they make it look genuinely like a movie store, where they get like the hard floor where it's like kind of soft carpet, but not really. And then like a bunch of, posters and things and VHS front facing.
Do those get the eBay standees? They actually go to eBay to find the original standees to put in there for like thousands of dollars. Yeah,
that do that. That's pretty cool.
Tim is absolutely right. You could rent consoles as well. And I remember California Video near us, which is very weird that we had a California Video in Delaware and Maryland. But anyway, we had California Video. They rented N64s out, and then they stopped, probably because people stopped bringing them back.
One of the dumbest ideas. We had that happen to us at our store. Remember, our original owner was like, "Yo, let's rent consoles."
That's bad.
They just didn't bring them back.
They never came back. They did come back, but not always.
They got a fake card, and they just came and rented all 3 consoles once and just never paid for them.
Sometimes the Blockbuster cases, like the official ones for consoles, those are like always like kind of a novelty. People like collecting those.
Yeah, we rented I remember N64 was the big one. Rented N64, a bunch of controllers, GoldenEye, Mario Kart for like a weekend party that you were having, or a bunch of people were coming over, and that was it. That's all you needed. That was it. That and the Mountain Dew Code Red, that was big then too. That's when Code Red first came around. That was a big deal.
There was something in there was some drugs in that.
Recipe of Code Red.
Then you found out that the freaking dye they used in it was basically destroying your genetics.
Yeah, there was some Code V or Gen V or whatever the hell they used in the book.
You had people on the N64. You had four people on the sticks there. You had people off on the side playing Pokemon Red or Blue on the Game Boy.
Code Red, I swear, bro, I almost dunked a basketball after drinking like 5 or 6 Code Reds. I was like, I swear I got very close, and I wasn't close. And after I drank like 4 of those, bro, I had a hops. Like
we had a kid at our World of Warcraft LAN parties that went through a case of Code Red a day. That was horrible.
A case?
Wow.
A case. You just had him stacked next to his computer.
That original Code Red was something, man.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they definitely tuned that back a bit for now, for like current ones. That was craziness back then.
Oh yeah, Code Red and N64. Oof, good night.
There, you're not going tonight for a while.
You're gonna be up.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Bouncing around. Yeah, you're gonna be up.
That was wild.
Yeah.
Let's real quick, we did have some news on. This is interesting on Crazy Taxi. We know Crazy Taxi is coming back because that was part of the compilation that Sega did with that Jet Set, and we had Golden Axe in there. And apparently, Crazy Taxi is going to be a massive multiplayer online open world game.
And that's what everybody was asking for.
I was trying to figure out what in my mind, I'm like, okay, what would that look like? But then I realized maybe that is the next step for Crazy Taxi, where it is this like weird, like you have people driving all over the place trying to pick people up and run off the road. And I mean, the original Crazy Taxi was just an arcade experience where you drove people around and got a high score. And if Sega wants it to be some big $60 or $70 thing, I understand that they might want to try to do some sort of online open world aspect to it. So my only issue with that would be the scope that they might be targeting might be a little much for something like Crazy Taxi. How many people do you think out there now remember Crazy Taxi like we do?
I'm sure a lot of people do,
yeah,
but
people
to change it to what we're hearing now, I think would be maybe not the smartest idea.
Yeah, massively I mean, I guess it could kind of work if they do it like I don't know, like a Burnout Paradise. I don't know if you played that. Like you have all your homies rolling around in Burnout Paradise like at the same time. I mean, but that was much smaller in scale. It wasn't a massively multiplayer, but like if you could engage in like, let's say like, where how many people can pick up this at this time, like, and you're racing against the other people at the same time to like for the scores, and like there's other mini games that you can play within the actual game. I mean, it could work. I'm just worried about the whole like always online. Crazy Taxi was an offline game, right? I don't know if Crazy Taxi 3 had online multiplayer, but the one on the Xbox, I think it's like High Rollers or whatever the hell it's called. Or
I don't know. The way I envision this game, I feel like we have it with like plenty of online simulators and like Grand Theft Auto Online. Like you're telling me GTA 6 Online would not just like do this and then everything else GTA 6 is going to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's kind of an issue with I think when GTA 6 comes out. Yeah. Like GTA 6, especially with GTA Online, the next generation of that we're anticipating along with GTA 6 releasing, it's going to be difficult for a lot of games, I think, when that comes out. And we expect it to set like a new bar for online interactivity and stuff, as we've talked about how they hired people from the role-playing community with that, where they're building up entire like servers of people acting out roles and stuff on GTA. So yeah, like it's going to be tough. Like you said, that might be an entire section where you just drive a taxi around and you pick people up, and that's a job.
The second Rockstar, if Rockstar just on a whim decided, you know what, we're going to do this tailor-made, taxi driving mode, which has been a thing in Grand Theft Auto since.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, that would completely cannibalize whatever this game's going to end up being.
Well, like the standard online for most Rockstar games is just mini games. It's just large scale mini games. So 100% they would throw that in there.
Whether Rockstar does it or the community, because GTA role playing is huge.
Oh yeah, absolutely is. That's going to be. That'll be interesting to see how Sega pivots. I think this would have just been a good arcade style release. I don't think they have to do something crazy and off the wall to make it happen. Just a new Crazy Taxi game. They probably won't be able to get full price for it. Maybe like a $30 game, but still, if it's good, then that's what they need to do, is reestablish that IP. Okay, Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. I was very excited when this got announced. I think a lot of people were. We weren't obviously set up for the podcast at the time when it got announced, and then we also got we got more information, I should say, in a stream. And the game is coming out September 19th. They're doing that thing though where it's the staggered digital physical release.
Many games do that now.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, but we have gotten a bunch of information with this, and it does look more like a remake than a remaster. Although they say if it's going to be a remake, they would reimagine and do a bunch of. They're trying to stay more true to form, which is fine. I mean, I'm looking at this game right now, and visually speaking, it looks just significantly better. So I'm really excited to see this happen. I'm on this day one, which means I'm going to buy it digitally and then probably buy it physically as well later on. So they'll get me for that, I guess then. But I'm interested to see how they change some of the things up. As they have mentioned, they're going to have a lot of quality of life alterations, and I'm curious if they have fun little Easter eggs in there, and if they have something with maybe end game content. But I'm excited. Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. Is anyone else picking this up?
Probably in the physical drops.
Oh, well, yeah. You're the physical collector.
It'll just be a random
I'll wait.
thing. Yeah,
I'll
just be a random thing that I pick up later, like when it's cheap, not because I'm not a big Dead Rising fan. But I played the original. Okay. I played the 360 game, and I played the really crappy like Wii port thingy. I think it's called Chop to Drop. So I have the 360 game, and I have the Wii game. And at that point, I figured I'm not a fan of that big of a fan of the franchise. So, but yeah, I'll pick this one up if it's cheap.
I remember when it came out on the Xbox 360, and it was such a big deal.
Oh yeah, I rented it. I was excited when it first came out.
Yeah, it was massive when it came out, because it was like, look at all the zombies that we can fit on screen with this new system with the 360. When it was like the following year or something, it came out, and I just remember watching. I think I was watching my friend play it at the time, and I was just blown away by all the carnage on screen. Because eventually, you can get in a car and just drive through these zombies, and it counts how many zombies you kill throughout your run. And so this thing was just racking up like 100 some odd zombies easily. And it was just crazy to watch that in motion, coming off of like the Xbox, PS2, GameCube generation. So that maybe there is some nostalgia in it for me with that, because I know people didn't necessarily like the time element where you're there's constantly basically it's ticking down how much time you have left in the game. But I guess in a way it was sort of like that how we have a lot of roguelike games now. It was kind of that, because you play through it multiple times with that time limit in mind. So I was pretty happy to see this get announced and it coming out so soon. Although I guess if you're waiting for the physical copy, you're going to wait an extra couple of months.
Did you see some of the I think you covered it in Newswave, but people are like, what the hell, Dead Rising? Why not this other long list of stuff that we want? Like Dino, people were talking, where's Dino Crisis?
Yeah. Well, I think it's because of that Capcom survey.
Yeah, the Capcom.
Did you see that? You saw the results on that, right? Let me get those real quick, because the survey was interesting in that it actually looks like, because obviously they're gonna at least pay attention to it to see where people's minds are with it. It doesn't necessarily mean they're absolutely going to go that route, but some of the, let me see. Okay, so. Which of the following Capcom games do you like the best? Devil May Cry 5 was number 1, but Dino Crisis was number 2. I mean, you start seeing that and you go, oh, okay, is Dino Crisis has been teased so many times, it feels like now, that they have to do it. You feel like they have to. So I get why people are looking at that and going, okay, yeah, but what about Dino Crisis? Because clearly people are asking for it. And I also want to point out, are there any Capcom game series, including spin-off games, that you would like to see get a sequel or new game? Dino Crisis was number 1. Over 80,000 votes for it, actually.
Dino Crisis is awesome. I'd love to see that come back, man. Like, seriously. And Dino Crisis 2 is great. So that'd be super. Like, I'd be way more, like, if they did like a nice remaster of Dino Crisis 1 and 2, kind of like Crash Bandicoot or something like that, like that one, or Spyro, like how they did that.
I don't know how telling this is, but that was a very early PS Plus leak, was Dino Crisis on Premium.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That like disappeared, huh?
It was one of those things where it showed up and we're like, oh, okay, that's probably a PS1 classic coming, and then it just never showed up. So I'm not, but that was like official material, like official like documentation that showed Dino Crisis on the standard, PS Plus imagery. So it was like a very safe guess that the game's coming. But that was a while ago now at this point. So I'm not sure how telling that is on what they're planning on doing with the IP. But I would assume that's still coming at some point. I don't know. That would strictly be PS1 emulation, though.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe I don't really think they have anything happening anytime soon. You feel like that might be lined up if they did have an announcement, but it could just be something they throw in there with Sony whenever that's ready. It's hard to gauge on some of these release schedules, because it could just literally be any. I mean, we're getting this week we're getting Joan d'Arc randomly. It's like, here you go. Okay.
Well, that's a Sony IP though, or
Great
Sony
game.
published.
Yeah, it's great game.
But I honestly forgot. Everyone forgot about that game.
I forgot about that game. But you know what? To be honest, a lot of level 5 stuff people forget about, and then when they announce something like, "Oh man, that was a great game that level 5 made," that's like a lot of level 5's IPs or like that.
That
games that they develop. Sorry, not IPs. The games that they develop.
That game's gonna look good with the up rendering and stuff. That game looked good on the PSP. I imagine it'll actually translate well to the big screen. So I recommend people check that one out because that is a good game. It's good. So, and you know what number 2 was for which game series would you like to see a sequel or a new game?
Was it Beautiful Joe?
That was Capcom.
Rockman.
Oh.
Rockman, yes. So
Mega
Man was number 2. Devil May Cry was 3, although we just had, I don't say just had, but we had Devil May Cry 5.
It's getting up there, I guess, right? Devil May Cry 5 was 2018.
I guess Mega Man 11 was around that time, kind of too.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit, but Devil May Cry, it's always like they take some time before Devil May Cry games, unless like it was like the PS2 era. We did get multiple DMC games, but since then it's been a little bit slower on the pace of DMC.
What else did we have in here? Number 4 was just Resident Evil in general. They just more Resident Evil, and then
that's coming.
Yeah, 5 was Darkstalkers.
That's
actually interesting that had over 47,000 votes. Wow. Versus Capcom. So anything where they have Capcom pitted against another brand. Okami was 7. Ace Attorney at 8, Onimusha at 9, and then Breath of Fire just got in there at number 10. That's still at over 37,000.
Oh man, Breath of Fire would be awesome.
Wow, that's interesting. I think we are due for a new Mega Man. We absolutely are. Capcom needs to make that happen.
Due for a new Breath of Fire, due for a new Mega Man, due for a new DMC, due for Capcom. Man, they've got the IPs, bro.
They're starting to get the money too. Like they got some nice capital built up. They can take some swings. I imagine they can. Although they keep trolling Dino Crisis fans, so it might be time for the Dino Crisis game. The fact that they showed what looked like the character from Dino Crisis ended up being Exoprimal, man, that still stings too.
They shut that down, or it's done with updates now, right?
Yes, so there you go. They have room now for Dino Crisis. That hurt me too. I'm not even like a massive Dino Crisis fan, but that one hurt me. I was like, oh man, dinosaurs are falling out of the sky. There's a character that looks like they're from Dino Crisis, and no, it's Exoprimal. It's like,
yeah, that's rough.
Well, that is unfortunate to see that one. Let me see. And I think that's everything for our topics that I picked up for tonight. Let me go to the Streamlabs here in the chat as we open up to a little bit of Q&A for the next few minutes until we go to the top of the hour. Boom. Let me go over to there we go. Okay. Streamlabs says Astro Thug says, "Hey John, YouTube doesn't allow me to send super chats anymore. What's up with that? Also, if Team Asobi revisits a Japan studio IP, which would you like? I think a next-gen Ape Escape for launch of PS6 would be rad. 100 apes on screen." I was thinking Ape Escape, actually. I was reading that. So that is a good one. But revisit a Japan studio IP, Team Asobi.
Gravity Rush.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing a series for it.
Yeah, Gravity Rush would be the game for me.
Gravity Rush would be a good one.
Folklore, Gravity Rush.
Folklore. I hadn't thought about Folklore until Ryan mentioned it in one of his videos.
Well, Folklore is made by Game Republic.
Forgot about that.
Primarily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I bet. What the hell? I think it's Sony Japan on that one. Never mind then. Yeah, give me Gravity Rush.
Game Republic. Japan Studio has so many properties they've worked on over the years, but they're also a bit disjointed with how many separate sort of subdivisions they've had throughout that studio.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many I'd love to see. I like the Ape Escape idea. I'm kind of on board with that.
A bunch of apes running around. That'd be like 100 of them on screen, they said.
I don't know if they need to be on screen at the same time, but give me a nice colorful platformer and make me work for finding the apes.
Jason says, Nate seems convinced we aren't getting the Wii U Zelda titles. Frankly, I'm starting to agree, but I find it weird that Jeff Grubb, who's very reliable, had heard of their existence last year. Nintendo sits on games a lot, but I wonder if they shelved these. We're kind of running out of time for that to be a thing. So I'm starting to think that maybe that is the case, that we aren't getting them, which is unfortunate because I think the thing that I've noticed about the Switch, they have done a very good job just completing entire series and making them available on this platform. So like you'll just see it like the from the beginning to the end, almost like Xenoblade they're very close. Like they're missing they're missing X. Yeah, if they get that on there, that'd be like legendary for the platform to have all the Xenoblade there. But that sort of thing, it's like, wow, they really do seem to get a lot of these franchises completely represented on this platform. So you feel like you get some more of those Zelda games on there. And I mean, they're with NSO and all the games they've already kind of moved over, including Skyward Sword, they'd be right there. So that's a little unfortunate when it comes to Wind Waker, because I think more people need to play Wind Waker. Twilight Princess is good, but like I feel like Wind Waker really stands out in kind of the history of Zelda. Twilight Princess kind of felt like them giving the fans really what they wanted the whole time. Let's see. Siphon Filtered. Yeah. Siphon Filter's on there. Ocarina of Time remake. That Ocarina of Time remake is how I would sell the next system. That would be a big reveal. Yeah, I think that's everything over on Streamlabs. We're good there. We're missing the Super Tom says we're missing Luigi's Mansion 1, Super Smash Brothers 1 through 4, Punch Out, Wii, F-Zero GX, and many more. It's still weird to me Luigi's Mansion is not on the Switch yet. You may as well do that. You might as well move it over.
Give it time, John.
Yeah. I wouldn't be. They're going to do some weird announcement after the next system is already revealed and coming out, like they did with that Luigi's Mansion for the 3DS. They'll do something like that for the Switch. I already see that happening. Although I guess whatever it is, we assume it'd be backwards compatible anyway, so it's like, why not?
I'm curious how many sort of cross-gen games we're going to see for Nintendo. I mean, we had this sort of 2 year still ongoing thing with Series and PS4 and 5. Got to figure there's
probably get a good 2 years, right? Maybe two years.
Well, I mean, two is always expected. It's always historically been at least 2 for like a lot of major publishers. But I'm curious as to what Nintendo will do, because presumably they're going to do the 2 minimum. But I'm curious if it'll go beyond that, kind of like what we're seeing with Series and PS5.
I feel like that install base is gonna be really hard for third parties to resist. Like they'll still want to try to get stuff on the Switch because there's a chance it's like 160 million plus Switches out there when it's, right at the end of its life. So they might just let's see if we can fit any of these things on there. Let's just see what happens. So I feel like it's gonna probably be around for a while. Like I think it'll be around obviously longer than the PS4 and Xbox One, and that's felt like a long generation because we're still getting we're getting games backported to it with like Jedi Survivor. So I think the Switch 2 year for the cross-gen period would put it at a 10-year system then, because we assume we won't have the next system this holiday. So 10-year system. Well, I think that's what they were shooting for anyway. Oh, I think Dr. or Dry Villain says, I'm wondering if Metroid Prime 2 and 3 are even coming. I feel like it will, just because they want to try to complete that lineup for Prime 4. But they still have Prime 4 come out next year, so they have time. Let me go around here as well as we're finishing up. Let me start with OJ. Where can everyone find you?
Yeah, you can find me right here on YouTube, Player Essence. I've got some GameCube stuff that I'm going to be doing in terms of best games, so check that out. Just did a 3DS video, top 25. 3DS games getting really expensive and rare. People are looking for 3DS stuff to play and buy, so check out that vid if you can. And I stream pretty much daily, talk about JRPGs and stuff. So right here on YouTube, Player Essence. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, let me go to Ryan. Where can I find you?
Find me over at on YouTube at Mystic Ryan, covering the world of PlayStation every single week on Let's Talk PlayStation. This coming Tuesday probably will be the collection update, since it's been a few months since I've done that. I've got a few games that are still sitting in packages, so we'll probably open up those and talk about the too many game pickups. Thanks for having me.
People want to check that out anyway, because you spent some money at TMG.
Yeah, but it was mostly cardboard, so
Well, I mean, you still. Okay.
There's some
There's
games,
a game that's encased in cardboard.
This is true. This is true.
You had a pretty big. You had a pretty big purchase in there. I saw it. We go to Evan.
You can find me on YouTube at Kemrick's Project if you're into tabletop games. Hopefully, I can get some more videos out soon. Been kind of busy.
Did you post a picture of your trophy on YouTube?
I think on Twitter.
Put it on the community board.
I didn't see it.
You should put it up there. Be like,
I'm pretty sure I put it on Twitter.
Did you? You should put it on YouTube as well in your community tab. Show people that are learning from champion material. Let them know. I wish we had gotten like video of Evan's like win where he's just sitting there and he has to walk up and accept the trophy. Like no one else.
I had to stand there. The guy had his watch out. He was like 10, 9.
They really did that to you?
He thought it was funny because it was the same guy that ran the tournament the day before for 9 hours that I was there, and he was like, "Yeah, it'll be funny."
It got to 0, and then he was like, "Okay, here you go. Here's your trophy."
Yeah, it's just before the picture of the glizzy I sent Ryan.
Ah, Jesus Christ!
They had a glizzy party at Too Many Games, and they used the word glizzy in all the marketing for it.
And then
Ryan did not like
you
that
and Evan
word.
Just kept saying the word glizzy over.
I don't know what
and
your
over.
problem is with
so
glizzy.
funny.
It's just a word, man.
But it's a very weird word to use.
Just say it, man. Just say glizzy.
I'd rather not.
They used it was constant glizzy.
Oh, good Lord.
It's everywhere.
Oh, God, John.
Just a lot of glizzy.
Oh God, come on.
You walked in though, and they had it. It was really funny. You walked in, and they had like the really fancy metal, the things that, like they open up, and it's like here's your like $100 meal or something, and they open it up. It was just stacks of boiled hot dogs.
Stacks of boiled hot dogs. The other one was just stacks of warmed buns, not toasted, just warm.
And at the end, it's just like
Hormel
beans
chili
in
in a pot. Yeah. Like it was just Hormel chili and a spoon with caked on Hormel chili. It's gross.
They really tried to fancy up this like Northeast Philadelphia like alleyway dinner. It was so funny.
So the cheese for it was like on the other side, so you had to get your whole hot dog and then walk all the way around everyone to put some cheese on it.
The moral of the story is we didn't eat those and went out to dinner, and Evan got chili.
There you go.
Yeah, I got better chili than the chili they had.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll see you guys then.